And I am recording, and if anyone for some reason does not want to be recorded, just tell me, I'll stop the recording, but that shouldn't be an issue. There's no copyright infringements, and there's no, I shouldn't think there's any issue with that, and I should be so happy somebody's going to plagiarize my poem. Anyway, that said, we shall begin and take it from there. Welcome to the August Planet Poetry 28. I'm again humbled to be among so many fine poets from around the world for this monthly poetry virtual anthology. As you know, we all read selections from our poetry while sharing the text using the share screen and make it visible on our screens. And if you've not experienced it like this before, I think most of you have. I think you're in for a treat here. So we'll all kind of mute during the performances. I'll introduce the poet with some lines. You can then gladly say some words about yourself and then hit the file share, or I have, for those, I'll share for you. And then after reading, we should all unmute and just a couple of minutes of comments. At that time, please add your anything you want to say about yourself, your websites, Instagram, events, happenings.
Stop calling me that. You're welcome, but stop calling that.
And fantastic! You can't be Zoom bombing the room.
No. I'm sorry. My bad. I'm so sorry. Sorry, Mark.
We love you though.
It's okay. By the way, I do tell me if I have I'm having internet issues in Wi-Fi. I have occasional. This is not my home, and I do have occasional issues here. You'll tell me if that's happening, because I can't tell. All right. And I apologize in advance if that does happen. Anyway, so I'll break the ice and begin. So I'm Mark Fishbein. I currently live in Washington, D.C. I'm moving here to Washington in a couple of months, which is the hub of American poetry. There's where the American Academy of Poets are, and the Poetry Museum and Poetry Magazine and all the rest of that. So it should be a good poetry town. I have 5 books of poetry out. I host 2 long-standing workshops called DC Workshop, and I'm part of the Poetry Global community, something I'm sure you'll hear a lot about tonight. This is a community of poets who are using social media platforms, YouTube, with live and recorded segments of news, events, spotlights, discussions, open mics, workshops, to connect all of us poets from around the world in this new Zoom poetry global scene. So please support us and subscribe and join in on and see so many of our many different segments that we're having, and we'll put all that in the chat for any of you that are interested, and hope to see you there. And I'll be the host of the Performing on Poetry on Zoom, which is from the Poetry Academy, a new segment next month, which I hope to learn more and more from as we all perform our poetry on Zoom. So I'll break the ice by reading from a book a little bit different than my normal poetry. This is a book coming out in about 2 weeks with Atmosphere Press, and it's called Reflections in the Time of Trumpius Maximus. The name came to me early on. I started writing the poem about one a month. And then I realized I was onto something in trying to capture the thoughts, my emotions, some of the events that were happening during these 4 years of that reign of terror that we just went through as an historical kind of poetry document. It's about 50 poems in the book. And I'll start by reading you, I'll read you 4 of different times. And here's what the cover will look like. And the first poem is from...
Sorry, I just had to laugh. We go back to the cover. Go back to the cover. Oh my God. That's almost like very generously not as ugly as I think it should be.
Anyway, so this is not the first poem, but it's first I'll read. This is from January 2017. The inauguration of Trumpius Maximus. Flamingos flew in squadrons over the mall. Rainbows bloomed from the winter clouds and decorated the adoring crowds. The heights of heaven from Tiepolo shined with the golden Pegasus. The ground itself trembled like a drum roll. Not since Cleopatra dazzled Rome has such a spectacle been known. The emperor set his hand on the holy book to swear his allegiance to God and truth, leaving its mark of ashes on the cover, the day America lost its youth. Here's one from a year later. December 2018. Make America great again. Empires do not rise again. Only once do they plunder the world with brutal force from land or sea to adorn their palaces with luxuries. Empires do not rise again. As they stumble, they fall, broken, resigned to being crippled, building walls and abandoning alliances. Empires do not rise again. They do not survive the greedy tumor from the bankrupt coffers of the state, spreading to the ministers of doom. The past is worshipped like a golden cow. Things were always better then. Our empire fell the day he said, "Make America great again." A year later, in May, I wrote this one, Grounds to Impeach. About 8 months before the impeachment actually started. My father taught me to tie a tie. As a gentleman will be defined like a lady by her hat or scarf. He was born poor to immigrant stock, but in his prime, he'd buy these objets d'art from the best silk printers in Italy with exquisite colors and design. In a crowd, he sparkled like vintage wine. Most important is the placement, he'd insist. In the center of the belt, the tip must fall. So when you sit, the fabric doesn't twist. And standing, it doesn't cover your balls. Retying the knot over and over for the perfect spot. Now Trumpius wears cheap-looking solids, way below the crotch. It's squalid. When he sits, it hangs like a frock, and when he stands, it wags like a monkey's cock. It's embarrassment to everywhere, to anyone with fashion flair. Forget the 10,000 lies, the affair so crude, that nagging voice from the ego platitude. Impeach the son of a bitch goodbye, who can't even learn to wear a tie. And I'll end with this one from May 2020. It was at kind of the beginning of COVID. And those of you that know T.S. Eliot and The Wasteland will see some of the things I drew from it for this poem. April was too cruel. He's up to 50 tweets. Before breakfast, he's a tweet machine. Sweet revenge is all that he can think. Like a medieval king, he sets the stage, pounds the desk with madness and rage. He's fed up with the phony plague. Inflated statistics, the testing's obscene. The White House now in quarantine. He takes aim at his enemies. He's the brand of his own disease, an addiction to a sweet nicotine for the morally dead and morbidly obese, sitting by their old Victrollers with cell phones on their lap, petting them like purring cats, while soothsayers interpret the signs, conspiracy, deceit, deep state crimes, inventing truth between the lines. If he could just cut out their tongues, the scientists, the press, the scum, forget the wacko virus, it's over and done. Why then, I'll fit you. Trumpius is mad again, delirious, disoriented, demented. Bullshit, bullshit, bullshit.
Everybody
Sounds
go ahead
funny.
and give Mark Fishbein a round
So
of
great.
applause.
Wow,
Very
wow, wow,
good.
Mark, wow,
Oh, thank
wonderful.
you.
What everybody else wanted to say.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you. And I'll keep you all informed for that book coming out, and we'll see how it goes. Thank you again. Next was going to be David, but David seems to be late. David, are you here? No, I don't see David Siller at this moment. So then I'm going to move on to Walter. Walter Sadlewski is a poet, retired librarian, originally from Buffalo, New York, now lives in Olney, Maryland. Is that how you pronounce it? Olney, indeed. And let me find your poem, Walter. That would be. Was that Walter Reed? Yeah.
Yes,
Okay. Got it.
not the hospital.
Indeed. Can you see it?
Yes. Ready to go?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I just want to show you one thing. Can you see this? It
Yeah.
looks backwards. Anyways, it says Nothing to Say and Saying It, which is the book I published a while ago, a few years ago, and I still have nothing to say, so I'll still keep saying it. This is called Study of an Atelier. With a simple gesture, you flip the switch on a cool, dry wall. By the light of a single bulb, you sit down at a desk, make a few changes in word pictures, tethered to screen or paper. What can be learned from this? With a simple gesture, a red ochre handprint is left to dry on a cool, damp wall. An artist works by the flame of a single torch to revise the shape of a bison tethered to stone. You emerge into the 40,000-year-old night, still in search of what's out there. A timely and topical poem. History's time was up. The whole contraption had begun to sputter in the 20th century, when the illusions required to keep it running were taken to universities to be interrogated, or simply fell into disuse like pipe organs in the choir lofts of desanctified churches. Voices raised in protest were gradually silenced. Historical landmarks, museums, and societies were left to raise funds and fend for themselves. They disposed of their memorabilia at auctions. Their hordes of secrets were captured by armies of scanner operators and perp-walked onto the internet. Only computer museums were spared, though the word history was excised from their names. Those who tried to keep history alive beyond its useful life sounded noble and almost tragic at first, but in the end looked a bit pathetic, standing on sidewalks and waving plastic flags with trembling hands, or sitting on lawn chairs in dark backyards, projecting newsreels of cowboys and Indians onto bed sheets hanging from clotheslines. Schools replaced traditional history texts with brochures for Cape Canaveral, Tomorrowland, and branches of the armed forces. On the last day of history, when the bare light bulb is switched off after the final interrogation, human beings will discover what it means to exist in a pastless relativity, naked, without the protective covering of the old stories. Okay, I'll finish with a bang. Manifold Destiny, an apocalyptic burlesque of the Old West. They painted the massive fire engine block fire engine red and aimed it due west to see how far she'd go. 600 miles west of the Golden Spike, it fried in its own juices and seized, sending up a column of last gasp smoke signals, mainly from the smoldering embers of its cargo of toy rubber savages tucked into the folds of Army surplus smallpox blankets. Deputies quickly mounted Ford Broncos and rode out to where the gargantuan dynamo had made its last stand among a herd of mesas as flat as abandoned grand pianos, their lids clamped down to muffle the sounds of any ghost dance music that might still be pulsing through strings plucked by the spectral fingers of sleepless warriors. Hello. When interviewed, local
please mute if you're.
the place had once been
Please
dry
mute if
and
you're
inhabited
not
sand,
other
and
than
had
Walter,
seldom
please. Thank
rained,
you.
except for occasional meteor showers, drizzles of arrows, and cloudbursts of bullets. Overnight, a sprawling chicanery of deluxe hotels and nuclear-powered neon casinos shot up from the barren land. Foot, hoof, skateboard, rodent, and motor traffic vehicle traffic increased exponentially. At times, I did it my way, or the chicken dance could be heard echoing far into the desert night. Brand new sidewalks were soon splattered with dabs of bubblegum and chewing tobacco. The resolute boulevards festooned with venison, jerky wrappers, beer cups, and butts.
Huh.
It's close to human sunset. The geological Dali clock in the gallery of early modern wolves is melting over the rim of the Grand Canyon. A 300 boxcar freight train hauling hazardous waste, fire extinguishers, weed killer, and artificial Christmas trees clatters along in the distance, disturbing ancient sleep patterns of shaman grizzlies. The sound is reminiscent of the rattling of a chain gang chain. To herald the sunrise of each gambling day, Kate Smith belts out a deafening rendition of God Bless America from a scenic overlook, with an unobstructed view of the replica mound of skinned bison carcasses. Next door to the Congregation of Conjugal Bliss, we never close, all-you-can-eat wedding chapel, where a memorial Geiger counter ticks as a perpetual reminder of the dust fall from a 1945 Alamogordo mushroom cloud. Against the backdrop of smoke-darkened sunset sky, the old boys keep at it, pausing only to take long pulls from a bottomless jug of lightning. With a modicum of cussing and a cantankerous clinking of tools, they bend their massive Thomas Hart Benton backs over the brutal steel fenders, struggling to coax at least one more spark from the hardened heart under the hood. Thank you, everyone.
Everyone, thank you. Please unmic and show some love to our
Wow,
poet.
beautiful,
Walter.
man, beautiful.
Great point. Great point.
Yes, thank you, Walter, very much.
Hey, Walter.
Walter, how can we, is there any particular link you or place you'd like to for us to follow you?
How about if I put my, I'll put my email up in the chat screen, and then if you want copies, I'll just mail them to you.
Oh, it's okay, thank you very much.
Okay. I'm
Walter,
not
I
worried
just
about
want to
paying
let
this.
you know, my student this week asked for poetry from the Wild West, and I have to have, yeah, it's absolutely perfect. He's a cowboy at heart.
I'll send it to you. Just contact me by email.
Will do.
Great, thank you, Walter.
Thank you.
So
everyone.
the next three poets are the poets that share the Poets React segment of the Poetry Global Network. I have Lauan, Kemlin, then Marissa, and this is a segment where the three of us, the four of us, just react to a poem that's given to us that we've never seen before, and I'm continually impressed not only with their poetry but with their knowledge of poetry. Lauan is based in Manila. He's a creator, a wordsmith, a storyteller. He's worked in the creative side of advertising business for the last 26 years. He's part of the Hakudo Advertising Network in Japan. He draws upon the tools of his trade to fuel poetry that is at once current, insightful, and sometimes stifles. He's a husband and father, an okay father, an eager guitarist, and still unjaded enough to remain a poet at heart. Lauan, take it away, my good friend.
All right. Thanks, Mark. Good morning to most of you. Good evening to some of you. Always a pleasure to be here. So, Mark, with your indulgence, I'm gonna do a few things a little different tonight. Number one is there will just be one piece, okay? And the other new stuff you're gonna see very soon. Okay. No, I did not misplace my point, but it did take more than 20 years to get here. This is Once Upon a Time in 1991, and I'd like to give thanks to the band Mr. Big and their song Just Take My Heart, because they provided the soundtrack to this particular moment, uncomfortable moment that, well, I had to go through at some point. So let's start. It's late at night and neither one of us is sleeping. I can't imagine living my life after you're gone. Wondering why so many questions have no answers. I keep on searching for the reason why we went wrong. It's just a song Not even my song, not even our song, not at least till that evening I clambered over your gate, scaled your wall, and came in through your window. Giddy with the forbidden but not uninvited, you smiled and let me in out of the night. Where is our yesterday? You and I could use it right now. But if this is goodbye, just take my heart when you go. I don't have the need for it anymore. I always love you, but you're too hard to hold. Just take my heart when you go. Our goodbye was unimaginable. In that moment of hello, impossible. I took off my shirt on the pretext of having gotten dirty from the windowsill, or perhaps preparation for getting dirtier still. Here we are, about to take the final step now. I just can't fool myself. I know there's no turning back. Face to face, it's been an endless conversation. But when the love is gone, you're left with nothing but talk. Our love was built on words, woven with a syllabic thread count hotel linens would have killed for. Lucent lines tracing, tugging, shortening the space between us. Then you, in solidarity, you slowly lost your shirt too. I can still feel the curve of your breast in my hand as I write this. I'd give my everything if only I could turn you around. But if this is goodbye, just take my heart when you go. I don't have the need for it anymore. I always love you, but you're too hard to hold. Just take my heart when you go. Our tongues traveled deeper than midnight, advent of tragedy, though we couldn't have known, nor did we care in that moment of fire and flare, of cigarette smoke and ice cold coke in between, drink of lips, fingertips, grind of hips. Our pants, strangely enough, stayed on that night. Why hurry? We had every reason to believe we had a lifetime of nights before us. Thank you very much.
Wow,
That was beautiful,
what a
Lawin.
unique
Please,
presentation.
Mike.
Wow.
Thank you.
Brilliant, Lavin. Brilliant, man.
Thank you.
Like lots of gut punches, and that was beautiful.
Good voice.
Absolutely. Tell it.
um,
Well, Lowen, tell us a little bit about all your events, which are quite many. And,
we just finished Magic Mike, so you guys can't catch that one anymore. But we do have the Poets Reacts, and that happens every week. There's a whole lot of stuff in line for the Poetry Global Network, so do stay tuned for that. And as I tend to say in rooms like this, don't follow us, join us. All right. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Thank you so much.
thank you for that. I love the singing. That was great.
Ah, come on, man.
Oh,
Thank
the
you.
guitar. Our next poet is Kemlin. Kemlin Bape shares also the stage with us at Poets Reacts, is an artist, and her artwork is behind you. I don't know how many languages you speak, Kemlin, besides sign, Chinese, English, of course, Spanish, and a whole bunch others. Visual artist and a teacher of students, and you live in Phoenix, Arizona, an active community member, and her poems have been included in anthologies released in various places, Circle Line Press, and other places. As spoken word artist, and some events performed include Poetry Slam at Wham. She's the All Arizona Poetry Slam champion in 2019. Welcome, my good friend Kemlin.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much. And thank you, Mark. And I really enjoy, please join us at the Poets Reacts and subscribe to the Poetry Global Network. So today I have for you a piece that has been accepted for publication in New York. So I would like to share that with you. Content warning, it has trauma, child abuse, sexual abuse, and yes, it's all that and more. I can't breathe. I can't breathe. Eyes open, chest rises and falls, cannot breathe. 两只老虎，两只老虎，跑得快，跑得快。一只没有眼睛，一只没有耳朵，真奇怪，真奇怪。Three little tigers, they run fast, they run fast. One tiger has no eyes, one tiger has no ears. It's so strange, it's so strange. I'm sorry, I'm having technology challenges. My view is hindered. Okay, I'm fixed. I was a tiger with no eyes. Little tiger should not see some things, and yet she saw. I was a little tiger with no ears. Little tiger should not hear some things, and yet she heard. What about the third little tiger? She was the one who could not speak, gagged without a voice, hiding in shadow, invisible. Today, I found out that the official version only had 2 tigers. I am the third, non-existent. 客人来看爸爸，爸爸不在家。我请客人请坐下，再倒一杯茶。The guest arrives to meet with my father. My father's not home. Mother taught me the way of hospitality. Mother is not home. Nanny is mother. I invited a guest inside. I offer a cup of tea. I offer hospitality. I offer what he wants. I offer me. I am hospitality. 街上只有妈妈好，有妈的孩子像个宝，收紧了妈的怀抱，幸福少不了。街上只有妈妈好，没妈的孩子像根草，离开妈妈的怀抱，幸福哪里找？ In this world, mother is best. A child without a mother, a blade of grass. Your mother's embrace is where happiness is found. My mother thought she could not live without my nanny. Damnation to you who dares to hurt the littles. May you stew in hell. In the hands of nanny, blade of grass becomes prawn. Fingers wrap around my body, run over my cool, smooth shell. I shudder, stilled. I acquiesce. Surgical tool knifes me in the back. It runs from head to tail, pries and pulls back my outer leg, exposes my soft yielding flesh. A flick begins my disembowelment, my gut and all my shit. removes my spine under a waterfall, bathes me till I am edible, baptizes me with boiling water. One more incision, I arise, born to the promise of new life, a butterfly. I long to see my reflection. Even if I had a mirror, I cannot see myself, for I am blind, headless, with no legs, arms, no wings. I am prawn. Misium, spicy prawn noodles, dinner's ready, mother calls. Come and try, take your plate, go ahead. Guest feigns reservation out of politeness. His salivating mouth betrays his true gastric intentions. Girl, tia, eat. I shrink under the dining table, away from guest, even at the risk of being caned. When forced, I spit, hide under plate, or better still, feed to dog. Once prawns were my favorite. Then Lao Jie Nanny taught me how to clean the prawns. She laughed when I threw up my guts. She bathed me. She washed me. She touched me since birth. I was bathed. I was washed. I was always dirty. She wrapped her fingers around my body to vein me. I was her butterfly. I was her prawn. Then I was served up to guests.
Oh, Camlin.
Kevin, that was wonderful, Kevin.
Bravo, bravo, bravo.
I mean, a total acrostic experience between music, art, and word. Wonderful. Thank you so much for that, Kevlin.
That was
great.
tremendous.
Yeah, really. A beautiful presentation. Kevlin, how can we reach you besides the Poetry Global Network?
So I will put up my link tree, but thank you so much for listening to my work and considering it. I would like to still plug the Butterfly Project, which is a ministry and an organization that helps children, young girls, 4 and 5 year olds out of sex trafficking in the Philippines. So that is a project that I'm advocating for, because as a survivor of trauma and abuse, it is the fitting thing to do, to use my gifts to advocate for those who cannot, who have no voice. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. Well, next poet is Marissa, followed by David, then Wayne, and then Anna, and take from then Squigs. We'll go from there. So I'll introduce Marissa, the other panelist on the Poets Reacts with me. And Marissa is a writer and spoken word artist living in Albuquerque, New Mexico. She's married, polyamorous, a mother of 2 daughters, who I had the pleasure of seeing one just the other a little while ago, and looks exactly like you. And she's a founder of Read or Green Books.
You're close, red.
Red and Green Books. I thought so. And as a publisher, and she has just so many different events and different things that she's into. It's just too much to say. She's extraordinarily active on Zoom with so many different venues and podcasts that she broadcasts. You have to follow Marissa. Every time Marissa, as I say, and many people say, is every time Marissa reads to us a poem, we always say that's the best poem you've ever heard you read, and she does it every single time. So there seems to be no end to it.
No added pressure, right?
No pressure, Marissa, but you're really up to it. So my pleasure to introduce you.
Thank you. I'm doing this in the car because this poem's going to make me cry. It's going to make me cry hard. And I don't want to do that in front of my kids because there's a lot of questions that go along with that. So I'm doing it in the car. Tonight, if you've never been to The Word is Right, I have a platform on Facebook, The Word is Right, WRITE. Tonight we have Kathy Carson from Ireland and Finn Hall from Scotland, two incredible poets from across the pond, are going to be here 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and it'll be on Zoom. If anyone's interested, let me know. If you're not on social media and you want to join the email list, I can put you on that too. We have open mics almost every day of the week, workshops coming up, a bunch of other things too. My book is available. It's titled Conversations with Grief. Is the year I wrote poetry after my friend chose to end her own life. And yes, the small press, Red or Green Books. We're publishing 20 debut poetry collections from 20 debut authors. And I'm only saying this now because when I get done with my poem, I'm not going to be able to go into this. So here we go. This poem is titled House of Stone and Tears. Can everyone see it okay?
Yes.
Okay. I think I'm afraid to be happy because I may never write again. In the 1970s movie Love Story, the famous line was written, "Love is never having to say I'm sorry." I must not know love, because all I wind up doing is saying, I'm sorry. I say, be patient with someone who's never been loved properly, then forget to ask you to be patient with my heart too. You see, mutilating relationships is a form of self-harm for me. The delicate art of scars grown over greener pastures now cover this handmaid's tale of how to make a monster. You see, I am a hard woman to love because I love hard. I am a challenging woman to love because I challenge so many things. I am a difficult woman to love because you get the mouth with the mind, with the heart. You get every heartbreak, every tear, every time someone walked out on me, broke promises, every time I was abandoned, hit, every hurt, every trauma and insecurity. It's easier to go back to believing I don't deserve anything good because I ruin everything. I'm a mistake. No one can ever really love me because I'm a wasted, used up woman. I'm destined to survive this Groundhog Day inability to die, trying to learn how to love and be loved back, running on a treadmill, searching for a future that does not know you. And somehow being okay without you. I was not done loving you. But if you're done loving me, if you need me to be the monster so you can move on, please make me that beast. If you need me to have bloody fangs and red eyes so you can find peace, please make me that. It has been told to me enough times now that no one can ever love me. Romantic love is no longer part of my belief system, and my walls are not quick to crumble still. All the trauma, all the abuse, all the discrimination and prejudice, all the anger, all the memories. I took all the stones they threw at us and built a future for us. I built us a house, a publishing house, a safe space you could call home, a poetry platform from stone, solid enough so others could reach the stars with us. And now you're gone. I don't know what to do. It was supposed to be impossible to fall in love with you, but I did. Wooed by a wizard of words, now seems impossible to get over you. How do I rebuild our life with a red strike through line and pencil in my life where you were supposed to be? Since I'd rather fight with you than love anyone else. The sun is not rising in this house, and this is so much for one person to carry. It's too big for just me, for my dreams, because it was built for two. And nothing will make this right, because I still wind up saying I'm sorry for my monster, for my memories, for my mouth. Maybe if each of you could pick up just one stone from this fallen future, help me carry it into tomorrow. Help me rebuild this house with more rooms, more doors, more windows, more hope, since I cannot do it all alone. Then maybe one day I will be able to see the beauty in a safe space we can all call home, because I really want to be happy, even if I never write again. Thank you.
Please unmic and show some love. Marissa, I have a stone in my hand. I've got one in my hand.
We're helping build. We're taking those stones and we're gonna bring them back to your house. We're not gonna let them be gone. Those stones are gonna come back and they're gonna be even stronger because you're gonna know how to put them together with something like more than mortar. More
That was
magic.
amazing.
That was the most moving poem I've heard you read, Marissa. That's since the last time you read a moving poem. That was just too much. It's too much for me, Marissa. It's amazing. I don't know what to say. I'm just over. It's such a. I mean, it's poetry, it's performance, it's personal, it's so many other things all at once. It's just the whole mixed. Your ability to communicate this with us is just quite amazing. And thank you very much for your heart and your soul. That was just spectacular. Thank you.
And actually, both Marissa and Kemlyn, you've both gone through things we can't imagine, and yet somehow, and you know, and other people will have gone through things, but you two have managed to take those experiences and create something so beautiful, so powerful, made it not understandable, but allowed us to be there with you both. And that is such a thank you for the trust. And thank you for the amazing poetry.
Marissa, this is my bear hug. I know it's far away from you, but it's for you.
Marissa, when you can, leave a couple of links on the, on the chat for us. So I'm sure some people might want to continue following. And I'm sorry, David, but somebody has to follow that. So I'm going to let.
After following Marissa and Kimlin, I don't.
David came a little late, so it could be David, then Wayne, then Anna, then Squiggs, then Lee Martinez, and thank you. So David is based in Queens, New York, where I'm from, Queens, New York, originally. He's a poet, a translator, an actor, director, and he studied Francophone literature, speaking French, focused on poetry and theater. Voracious reader of film, TV, and comic book buff, and knows more about French hip-hop than any of us can possibly imagine. He lives in Queens. You can always find him at Waxy and Poetic. David is also part of one of the workshops that I do, and his knowledge of poetry and poetics is you could see the amount of books behind him. I think he's read most of them.
There's still a big to-be read pile, but let me go ahead and share the screen, and hope everybody can see that okay.
Yes.
And so in the spirit of Kimlin, there's some code switching in one of these poems. There's an ekphrastic bit later. And just to go ahead and get the trigger warnings out of the way, is a poem that talks about abuse and sort of traumatic car accidents and also gun violence. So, but this first poem is called Code Switching number 2. In French, to fall is tomber, and you'd think the way it sounds it would be related to tumble, but it's not. You can tomber amoureux, but you don't tumble in love, though you might stumble into it drunkenly one night in a bodega as you navigate what seems like dozens of aisles, miles of shelves, and acres of end caps, all to scramble for the package of Skittles, stars bursting as hand collides into hand, rainbows in relief, flooding, no, well fallen. In French, to fall is tombe, and you'd think the way it looks it'd be related to tomb. You get the fleeting sense of falling into warm dirt, the smell of earthworms and fresh-cut chrysanthemums. Laisse tomber, they'd say. Let it go. Let go the fistfuls of dirt, the dirty laundry, the laundered past, the past chances, the chance encounters, the counted down and out, the outside curve, the curvy loves, the curses and the courses and the corsets. Laisse tomber le tout. In French, to fall is tomber, and the way it feels in the mouth, you'd think your nose is stopped up, as if it were no longer interested in the sense of her perfume, perhaps a falling out between the smell of a fresh baguette and the memory of the baguette, as if falling behind a dumpster, as if falling between the cracks in your relationship, as if falling hook, line, and sinker for a dead-end dream. In French, to fall is tomber, and in English, fall is both action and disaster, and festooned with multi-hued trees and burnt leaves-scented breeze. It is a season, fleeting. Tombe tumbles trippingly off the tongue the way fall flails or flees in a fricative fury, as when you tumble in love, tombe to your knees, tombe under her eyes, falling just right and just so, but it's never the fall that hurts. This is called I Will Not Write My Traumas for You. Not the speed at which metal kissing metal, an engine block deflowers a passenger seat, shattered glass and blood peddled around the car, a broken nose and bruised spirit bursting from accordion mess, nor the flight vector of a 5-year-old from the door of a 78 model blue Chevy van, open like a hug just let go, to freeway concrete, arriving ambulance lights spinning faster than passing motorists and the racing imagination of a newly minted Jedi mind. And neither the stretch the pine trees made skyward, autumn air cool on my bare back, their bark as rough as the high school boy up right behind me, my boyhood tears as silent and prickly as pine cones. Instead, I will write of the stroke-brushed dabs of azure and ochre and emerald, impressioning the Houses of Parliament sunset as the empire of light lords over the tree-lined boulevards at night. Perhaps I will imagine the way her hair silks between my fingers, the way her cinnamon skin tickles my earlobes, the way her electricity tingles my very bones. And thus I may conjure the crowd-stuffed bus selected for transit and bumper-to-bumper independence of rush-hour freedom, the stretch of red lights winking and swaying, coaxing you along to the horizon, as pen or typeface, disguised in couplets or sestets would have done. And this last piece is an ekphrastic piece, so hopefully we can see the painting in the poem. It's called What is More or Less a Metaphor, After Bodies of Little Dead Children, Oil on Canvas by Forrest Best. They litter the ground like unreturned boomerangs, that background a model of black and chestnut and mahogany, their bodies bent like branches in imaginational substitution. The one flying out of school, the wind whistling through bullet holes, the other stick thin, obviously, and incurvated wrong, hunger making its off-center wobble offset the hatches and crosses of a vast emptiness, confined in the artist-made wood frame about the size of a toddler's torso. The white walls of the gallery are its unequal. Thank you.
Oh,
Everyone, go ahead and
Wow, David. Wonderful.
unmute, please.
Thank you.
Please unmute and thank you.
Great points, great points.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
wow.
It's nice to hear someone speak of Forrest Best again. I haven't heard Forrest Best's name in probably 30 years.
Yeah. It was, if I can say it, it was a happy discovery. The last time I was at the Manil collection, it was a happy discovery that I think wasn't up the last time I went to that museum. So it was, I was stunned when I saw that painting, just stunned.
Well, your whole presentation is different, and I always consider that so many of the poems today, like David's, are some type of a wonderful hybrid between page poetry and performance poetry. I think you're gonna hit the nail right on the head in a lot of these pieces, as so many
Thank
of
you.
us are today. I think you can sense the craft of all the poems being presented here are quite high. That's for sure. It's really and emotional too. Well, thank you, David. Do you want to leave any last comments on the chat? Please do so.
I just put the website in the chat, waxyandpoetic.com, and you can find me on all the social medias from there, YouTube, and that sort of thing. So
thank you.
Thank you so much, everyone.
So now it's my pleasure to introduce Wayne Miller, I think first time reader here. Wayne is primarily a painter. He spent over 20 years in the New York art world as an artist and an art gallery director. His paintings are narrative in nature with a significant amount of text involved as part of the imagery. He began writing while serving as a medic in Vietnam. A selection of these writings were published as a chapbook, Sleeping in Vacant Buildings in 1980. Howard Moss of The New Yorker said they weren't poems, but Glenn Most of Princeton called them shards of lives, which is pretty accurate. So Wayne, please share your poetry with us.
Okay. This is my first time using the share screen. Let me know how this works.
If you've not done it before, then basically what you have to do is you have to have you had the poem on your on your desktop?
They're on the screen. Yeah, they're on the screen now.
Okay, we don't see it. Just have to hit the share button now. There you got it. Okay, coming in.
Great.
Thank
Okay.
you.
First poem is Alewife. It helps to know that Alewife is one of the most distant stops on the Boston transit system. Alewife. She takes the train. She is not a believer. Dust to dust, she says. Her driver's license says organ donor. But before ashes become ashes, her heart goes to Mass General, the lungs to Brigham and Women's, kidneys to Boston Medical Center, the liver to Boston Children's Hospital, and the eyes to Mass Eye and Ear for the girl in the red line, who takes her blind ride every evening from South Station all the way to Alewife. The next poem, Sappho is Dead. Plague has arrived on the island of Lesbos. The Greeks have sheltered in their homes. The Arabs have sheltered in their tents. When the virus finds them, their differences will no longer matter. Sappho is dead. There will be no poem about this. No grove, no dance, no sound. And the final poem is Witness. It's August. A van has just stopped a few houses away to unload Jehovah's Witnesses, who will wander the neighborhood in pairs, going door to door selling brushes to cleanse the soul. To houses they deem safe, they bring a child along, a witness of another sort. And as we do each summer, we will sit in the backyard under the widest oak, hope for a breeze, and talk about the myths on which we bet our lives. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Wayne.
You're welcome.
Beautiful descriptions and wow.
Wow, so many great artists are. I got this right. So many great artists are also such good poets. You know, be it the Chirico and Clay and it's endless, really. And that was really some fine poetry. Thank you for
You're
sharing
welcome.
that.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
how could
Someone is
particularly
typing.
powerful.
Who's typing? Someone's typing and it's very like jarring when someone's reading. So please just make sure you're muted if someone's reading.
Yeah, thank you. I didn't pick that up, but thank you if you hear it, sure. And okay, well, thank you very much again, Wayne. Our next poet is Anna, and Anna Lindsey. Hi, Anna. Anna is part of also a participant in one of the workshops that I do, and I ordinarily have one of the books that we published, some books called Ink Blots, and Anna was in there with her biography, and I usually have it and just read that. And I realize I've been traveling here and I don't have it with me, and I couldn't find it, so I don't have your bio, Anna. I know you have a couple of books out. I'm sorry, dear. From England is London, I believe, is Anna. Please introduce yourself for me. With
Hi
apologies.
everybody. So I'm what you'd call a pedigree mongrel, Heinz 57 varieties, mixture of everywhere. I live in Cambridge, not too far from London. My novel Eden Undone is available on Amazon and places if you're lucky enough to find it. And yes, I started writing poetry again about a year and a half ago, and I've been really blessed and overwhelmed by people's encouragement, and yeah, so thank you very much for joining me. And yeah, I'm feeling somewhat imposter syndrome at the moment after all this amazing poetry we've just heard, but here are 3 short ones, and I hope, just a trigger warning, they do have themes of loss and yeah, so this one was, Mark mentioned ink blots, and this one appears in ink blots, and it's called The Little Rowing Boat. The river rescued her, carrying her on his back, cradling smoothly, flowing past the grasp of river grass, paddling ducks, discarded glass, wood and water, waving eddies. But she was soulless now, no longer kissing him with touch of flirting awe and summer joy. So when the bulrushes, bullying and bristling, crowded in and lured her from him, he understood that hers had been mere summer fling, no more. He gave her up to toy among the reeds and wept his lonely heart along into the sea. So, and then, sorry, the next one is called Hibernation, which also appears in, so this one wasn't in ink blots, it was published in The Nightingale and Sparrow. Sorry, let me just, sorry. Numbness narcotized when I was unaware. I knew the cold was coming, watched winter take you, breath by icy breath, into its lair, and saw you, grateful, sink without despair into its one-way care. I felt I could fend off the cold and thought I was prepared for icicles to sting before the spring, never realizing I was already pinned, hunkering in hibernation, soul systems stalled, sensation numbed, heartbeats dulled to torpor through the years. I thought the cold was distant, well controlled, till light's frail tendril found its way into my darkened den. Now I comprehend that grieving sleep was after all obeyed, that what I dreamt was waking, had simply been hearts faking. Snow cold, breath hold, hurt souled. But now a new year calls, thaws set, and I awake from slumber's thralls. Winter's melting, spring strokes my hair. And my final one is apparently contagious. And this one was in ink blots. It's not the pain which gets me down, dragging with its claws of lead, nor the weakness leached from laggard limbs between one step and the next, one breath between the normal and that old familiar ache, deep in my bones, my joints, the interstitial tissues. Those are merely norms, my day-to-days. I'm used to those. The hurt that's worst makes others edge away uncomfortably, is when I dare to speak of loneliness.
Beautiful, Anna. Oh my goodness.
Please unmute. Show some
Yeah.
love.
Great poems, great poems.
Your voice is just captivating. Then you read. Thank you, Anna. That's wonderful.
Anna, spring strokes my hair. You weave words that are so sensual, and I believe winter came before that. So I felt cold, and then I felt the gentle warmth. Oh, exquisite.
Well,
Thank
well,
you so
even if I have not too much talent as a poet, I think I have talent at choosing wonderful poets. So thank you very much, Anna. That was wonderful. And you can leave any information, please do. I'm sorry I misplaced your bio and for that.
Right.
So the next reader is Lee Martinez, and Lee, you didn't send me a bio, so I really you'll have to
Oh
fill
my
in
God,
for
you
me.
just have to say Lee Martinez is amazing.
Yeah. So
She's
could
just
you
an amazing. Maybe she'll let me publish her one day. I don't know.
Yeah.
Whenever
So,
you want, like, just tell me.
could you just fill in a little bit for us, Lee, and tell us where you're from and a little bit about yourself, and then gladly share it. Thank you.
Just a second. So I am a queer Mexican writer, editor, and translator. My work center on the stigma of mental health, life with comorbid mental health diagnosis, finding accessible resources and competent specialists, as well as healing. I have a master's degree in mental health counseling, which I use only for 2 years. I've been published on pretentious research papers that only others in academia care about, mostly focusing on migration, resiliency, and homelessness. And then I'm also self-published on my creative endeavors, more on the poetry part. So let me share my screen. And I am from Ciudad Juárez, Mexico. Just a second. Share screen. Here we go. So I'll start. This is called Árbol or Tree. Light skin, white skin. Should I skin my skin and let the blood pull under my naked feet? Set it up for close inspection to determine my genes that I know nothing about? There's nothing to claim, reclaim, regain, lost too long ago and erased, renamed, retraced in hopes of finding answers, but found revision parts of the site I never knew, and romanticized parts of the plundering past, the branches that grew me passed on to me. So that leaves the question of who am I and where do I come from? Will I pass nothing to the canopy of generations who share the blood of unholy and revered ghosts? Will I understand this blood and tie down its magic to a land I have never stepped foot in? Or instead feel naked feet burning with a touch of asphalt and the longing to know who, what am I, and why? Where am I going under the glowing lights of this desert? Where has this blood been spilled? And I trace, stare in the mirror, in hopes of finding a semblance of the names I never knew, the India Washishil, unnamed, the abuelita who was some sort of Indian erased, but now in the embrace of the little percentage of us that I know, and how much of us I want to know. Whisper its meaningfulness to the deaf ears of the tree that birthed us, faltering leaves on the canopy, only capable of seeing their roots when they finally wither. The likes of me wandered off the rod, climbing up our branches, while the others, carried by the wind, let themselves go. But not anymore. Not one more name of me, of them, of us will be erased from the almanacs of our history. Call me historian, scholar, time traveler, carrier of half real, half imagined stories of who, what, where, and why. And then this is the second one. First in Spanish, so you have the Spanish version in here, and then I have the English version right after. And this is called Xignomictlan. He de flotar en el azul abismal de las almas que cruzaron el río una tras otra y otra, flotando en la eterna llanura, preparándome para la forma siguiente que he de tomar. Guiarán sus manos el camino del cuerpo transeúnte, paralizado ante el abismo repleto de ojos celestes, mirando el transcurso del tiempo. Creo en un ciclo de vida y de muerte, transmutaciones eternas donde lo que nos ha definido es grabado al fuerte en las estrellas. Dejaré atrás las partes de mí que no logren permear las montañas de obsidiana, alimentarán la tierra en la que llegué a caminar. Será mi historia llevada en el gélido viento del último aliento de mi cuerpo cortado, cambiado por el lugar donde ondean las banderas, origen de nuestra tendencia a la guerra, atravesado por flechas definitivas. Creo en un ciclo de vida y de muerte, transmutaciones eternas donde lo que nos ha definido es grabado al fuerte en las estrellas. He de alimentar a mis bestias con mi corazón en las manos, ofrenda de sangre, de piel y de huesos, hasta que no quede nada, y permee las rocas varadas en la nada, hasta que encuentre el camino al reposo final, antes de volver a empezar. Creo en un ciclo de vida y de muerte, transmutaciones eternas donde lo que nos ha definido es grabado al fuerte en las estrellas. The English version. I'll float in the abysmal blue of souls who cross the river, one after other and another, floating on the eternal expanse while preparing myself for the following form that I will take. They will guide the body's way with their hands, a passerby paralyzed before the abyss, full of celestial eyes, observing the passage of time. I believe in a cycle of life and decay, of everlasting transmutations where what made us who we are, where is etched onto dying stars. I'll leave the parts of me behind that failed to permeate the obsidian mountains. They will feed the soil I once walked upon, and the stories I wrote will be carried by the icy winds of the last breath of this sore body, changed by the place where flags fly high, the origin of our nature to do war, pierced by the definite arrows. I believe in a cycle of life and decay, of everlasting transmutations where what made us who we were is etched onto dying stars. I shall feed my beasts the heart held in my hands, a blood offering, skin and bones until there is nothing left. And I permeate the rock stranded in the nothing until I find my way to the final resting place before we start again. I believe in a cycle of life and decay, of everlasting transmutations where what made us who we were is etched onto dying stars. Thank you.
Lee Martinez!
Wow, Lee, wow.
Amazing, you know, we love you, Lee.
Thank you.
Su poema en español es perfecto. Perfecta. Sí, cambiar mi corazón. Gracias.
Very wonderful. Well, thank you, Lee. How can we find you if anyone wants to follow you?
I'll put in my information on the chat. You can find me on Instagram, and I do have a Linktree where you can also find my book and other publications that I've been in. I'll share it over here on the chat. Thank you.
Thank you. Here. So thank you again. So our next poet is Jeremy Cantor. Jeremy Jeremy's debut collection of Wisteria from Seed was forwarded by Boston Globe's art critic Michael Manning, published in 2015 by Kelsey Books. His work's been performed at the Boston Conservatory, set to music by composer Robert Gross, as well as in San Francisco and Tucson. Currently working on a second volume of poetry, Jeremy began writing after retiring from a career in laboratory chemistry. Everybody has such different backgrounds here. Made his testing engine oil detergents, pharmaceuticals, and a lot of other things related to that. He prefers writing. I think I do also. Jeremy, take it away.
Thank you. Can everybody see that?
Yes.
This is one of my hospital waiting room poems. It's called Posture. Watching how each patient walks into the waiting room, I try to guess just where it hurts, and even try to guess how much. First comes one who might stand straight again if he could be convinced it's worth the pain. Next comes one more bent, who stood up straight many years ago for the very last time. When I get up, I will remind myself again, as all my life I've had to do, that I have a right to stand up straight. And as all my life I've had to do, again, I'll fight the fear that somebody will holler out a challenge to my right to stand up straight, to take up that much space. Another walks in now, almost on tiptoe, as if trying not to tear the rice paper. Several centuries ago, Miyamoto Musashi was the greatest swordsman in Japan, but so is Kojiro Sasaki, and in the end, there can be only one. In the introduction to his book on sword fighting technique, Musashi wrote, "To write this book, I did not use the law of Buddha or the teachings of Confucius, neither old war chronicles nor books on martial tactics. I take up my brush to explain the true spirit." This is the true spirit. Like Kojiro Sasaki, in his hand a letter from Miyamoto Musashi saying he was very sorry, but the duel they had both been looking forward to would not take place that day because Musashi required more time to perfect his art, which when they met at last was so well honed that though he'd brought two swords, he did not use them, drawing them only afterward in triumph after crowning Sasaki with a stick. The topic I've long wished that I were good enough to write about will have to wait, while I continue to perfect my art, writing of lesser things like love and death. Thank you.
Wow.
Lesser things.
Thank you, Jeremy. Wow.
That was
Yes.
fantastic.
How can you put lesser things like love and death? How? Ah.
Thank you, Jeremy.
Great, great.
Well crafted. Thank you. Moving on to Julian Matthews. Julian, you're there? Julian is I don't see your on screen.
Can you hear me?
There you are. I can hear you. Yes. Hi. So Julian is a former journalist from Malaysia who stumbled into poetry by accident 4 years ago. Happy accident has turned into a rabid compulsion. He is still extricating himself from the crash. His poems are commentaries on the human condition. Welcome to his recovery. Julian?
Yeah. I'm just going to share screen.
Please do.
Can you see that?
Yes.
Okay. Falling Men. The news clip came with a warning, a crossed out eye icon, sensitive content. The video may show violent or graphic content. They needed to freeze frame the video and circle the blurred distant figures in red as if to say, here be human beings. Once again, it's proven that men can't fly. In Kabul or Saigon or New York, the lesson of Icarus is Greek to us all, even to the literate. History repeated, men defeated. Pilots, like leaders, can destroy or save the day. It's all perspective. It's either a cape or another caper. No escape for the escapee. No refuge for the refugee. But there are no heroes here. Just the quiet desperation of silhouettes in midair. Human beings with hearts and hopes and dreams, now crumpled bodies on the tarmac. A host on Zoom, open mic, once welcomed me as a poet from the Far East. I suppose it could have been worse. He could have said Oriental or Third World or used the blanket term Asian. Maybe I should embrace the fact that I'm not just from a single nation, but am continental, better engineered, luxury branded, more expensive. But Asian or African aren't terms associated with continental, are they? Better a continent than incontinent, I say. I'm reminded of the photo of the falling man of 9/11, the sharp focus outline of another human being in midair, against the stark backdrop of black and white vertical lines of the soon to collapse Twin Towers. Uncertainty of who he was still hangs in the air. They say he may have been a staff at Windows of the World, a restaurant in the North Tower. The body was never found. Amid the ash and ashen, all is gray. Sometimes the lens of red, white, and blue is blurry, unfocused. We know how we got here. We just don't know how we're going to leave. It's all perspective. There are no heroes here. We look out through our own window of the world now. We zoom in and zoom out, muting and unmuting each other, depending on who's the host, the pilot, the leader. Sometimes the meetings are recorded, sometimes not. Sometimes people are focused, clear. Sometimes they are blur or cracking up. Sometimes they are quiet, grieving. Sometimes people fall off the screen and are never heard of again. In the virtual world, it's easy to click leave and just go. In the real world, leaving always comes with a price. Thank you.
Yes, Julian.
Oh
Yes.
my God. Julian, in the virtual world, leaving always comes with a price.
What an interesting take on
Julian.
an interesting take on our event here and all events. Very, very thought-provoking. Thank you, Julian. Very true. And hopefully you'll all hang around because there's some very good poets still coming up. Indeed. I say Elemental is not here as he was, so I'm going to move on to Unmesh. Unmesh Mohatkar from India, an inspiration to me, has inspired everyone who's heard him perform in his very unique fashion. He has a book called Light Shadow Life. The Missing Verse of Souls, a bestseller now in Zoom Poetry World. And he has a weekly open mic, Unmesh the World, which he's invited many people to. And I've heard so many great poets, both from India and around the world, in his event. And it's my pleasure to introduce my wonderful friend Unmesh.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you. You introduced me like a star. Thank you. I'm feeling
You
like a
are.
star.
We all are. You are too.
Thank you. So let me share it. Let me share it. Okay. Okay. Hope you are able to see the screen. Okay. All well. Perfect. So this is called Naked Mountains. I love trekking. So while doing the trek in Kashmir, I wrote this. Here we go. Unknown mountains, why are they calling me? Do they know me? We keep on walking. Steep upward slope, every step, fight with ourselves. The knees are giving up. They protest. Why me? Why am I being treated like an alien organ? We keep walking. Baby steps, baby steps. The slope is slippery, wet. We fall, we balance ourselves, get wet, still keep walking. Baby steps, baby steps. Wet, slippery patch has not ended. Like life, balance is the key. The shoes are taking all the burden. The balance is the key, and we are losing it. Once it ends, the boulder stretch starts. Someone got very angry, threw all the stones at the beautiful mountains. Maybe a tired trekker. Maybe God decided to punish someone with rocks in the shape of boulders. The vista is beautiful. Far away, the mountains are still standing in waiting of something which might never happen, something like world peace. The river flowing through the mountains, the lifeline of mountains. Is she the messenger of mountains, spreading life and joy to the lonely, aloof mountains? We keep walking, baby steps, baby steps. I see the top of the mountain. My head is paining. Lack of oxygen is taking its toll. I stop urging people to walk fast. Small mountain path, rocks smiling at you at wrong places. Deep valley with open mouth waiting for you to make its victim. I stop looking at the valley. My legs are stumbling, twisting, slipping. My stick pole is a lifesaver. I can't think. My baby steps have become crawling steps. Suddenly, horses come running from the back. I support myself against the rock. Horses carry all the load in the world and still balance themselves. One of my friends is sitting on the horse. He's more scared than the horse. The horse has to work. My friend has all the time in the world to look at the deep, inviting valleys, to think and get scared. I see the top about 10 meters ahead. The unending baby steps are killing me. I decide to take a plunge. I decided to run for the top. That is what will end my painful journey. I run for my life. The heart is pumping the blood to the legs. The brain is in a shock. What is this idiot doing? I reach the top. The cold wind is hitting my chest, buried in the jacket. The heart is pumping as if it has to water the unending valley, which I see from the top. I stop, tired. But inside, I am happy. I have reached the top. Wow, what a view. The glaciers like crown are sitting at the top. The clouds are teasing the mountains, sometimes kissing, inviting, singing like a besotted lover. Cloud play games with the mountains. The glaciers are already making love with the mountains, the water from the glaciers falling in the lakes below. Sometimes the lake does have some residue from the glaciers. I don't see many trees, few are there but burnt. This is the price you pay when you live with a beauty. The envious eyes will burn you, but the love in the heart still burns bright. Somebody says, we will see Nanga Parvat tomorrow from far away. Just a sneak peek. Nanga Parvat, the naked mountain, the steep sides refuse to be covered with snow. Yes, God created Nanga Parvat It likes to stay naked, a slap on the face of we humans who just like to discriminate based on physical characteristics. But our guide urges us to start again, points at one more mountain. These mountains never end. Every mountain starts a new mountain. The river might have sent a message. We are coming. Baby steps, we are coming. Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Yes,
Everybody, unmute your mics and give Umesh some love. Wow, Umesh, wow, I'm like flustered. What a love poem.
Thanks for taking us on that that hike, that journey. That was
Yeah, you were gone a little bit from the Zoom poetry scene. Then we found that you were trekking along in the Kashmir Mountains. It looks like that trip had a profound influence on you, which I can certainly understand.
Yeah, it was wonderful, Mark. It was wonderful.
Apparently, yeah, it's a life-changing experience. Yeah,
Very true. Very true.
wish I was there too.
Yeah, next time.
But thank you for taking me there in your poem. And you can
Unmesh ji, would you like to plug your socials?
Yeah. I will. So Unmesh Mohitkar on Instagram and Facebook, and I have got an open mic. Let's Unmesh Life, a wordplay on my name, every Saturday, 8 p.m. India time. This time we are tomorrow, Sunday, but otherwise every Saturday, 8 p.m. Please do join. Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. So we'll stay in India for our next reader, first-time reader, Joanna Devadayu, yes, pronouncing correctly, I hope, alias Johanna D.S. Chittaranjan. She hails from Switzerland. At a young age, she spent 5 years in an ashram in South India, where she acquired scriptural wisdom and strong faith in God, the creator of the universe. She has lived in South India for 40, contributing greatly to humanity through her charitable venture. In 1992, with her husband, she founded the Laharinjagar Charitable Trust, a place away from busy city life where people are welcome. Her first anthology is titled The Call of the Turtle Dove for Universal Peace, came in 2014. She's a platinum executive member of Writers Capital International Foundation, joined with the Association of Artists and Writers in the World, SAPS, as an honorary member, support the cause of unity, equality, peace among humanity. And I'll share, I have your poems for you to share.
Thank you so much, Mark, for this introduction. I'm so glad to be among you all for the first time, and I'm going to read my poems. Transcending fear, haunting dreams of past, imagination into future, wild presumptions vast, savor the present moment unbiased, transcending in love divine, transcending the ever-questioning mind, abiding in heart, unique in its kind, raising thoughts, never mind, transcending in love divine, transcending endless pairs of opposites, praise and reproach, dismay and delight, honor and ignominy, noise and quiet, success and failure, wrong and right, young and old, black and white, good and evil, day and night, arise from the wavering plane of plight, transcending in love divine, transcending greed and gross desire, spiraling downward into the mire, burn persistent ego in love's fire, transcending in love divine, transcending the shackles of time, every moment in love is sublime, as the mountain dew pristine, transcend in love divine, transcend in love divine, transcend, dear friend, transcend in love divine. And the next poem rise. Awake, arise, slumber despise. Is it a surmise, or do we rise beyond the skies with open eyes? No goodbyes, no whys, no cries, no sighs. We rise, ever rise, sever the ties, despise all guise, vain scries. Oh, surprise, it's no surmise, it complies to a reprise for the lies, the exercise of incise and excise. It's time to rise beyond the skies, ever rise, take an advice, be wise, pay the price, win the prize. Now arise in awareness and forgiveness, rise. Thank you. That was it.
Everyone unmute and give up some love. Thank you, Joanna. Shukriya. Oh, that's
Thank you,
gorgeous.
Johanna. Wow, wow.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you for that divine poetry. I think we all could use it. Thanks again.
Do you have anything that you would like to spotlight or tell us about your social medias and where we can find you?
I'm just on Facebook under the same name, Johanna Devadayu.
Thank you.
Yes.
Shukriya.
I'm going to move
Thank
on. Our friend Elemental has informed me that he just can't get Wi-Fi right now where he is, and sends his regrets for not being here. So I'll move on to Aidan. Aidan is part of my group as well. I recently met. Aidan Perlin lives in Arlington, Virginia. He's been published in the Calliope online journal. He's a newcomer to poetry, but has been enjoying learning about the community and the craft. And I've been very impressed with the craft that Aidan has presented with us. I think you'll enjoy his work very, very much. Aidan?
Hello,
There you are.
my name is Aidan. I'm in a similar boat to Anna. I'm a COVID poet, sort of picked it up a year and a half ago. So I just want to say thank you. This has been amazing listening to all your poetry and getting to hear from people who are writing today. And it's just been very, very nice. So thank you very much. Yeah, I just assembled a bunch of ones and I'll just go through. This one's called God of the Gap. Even in our godless conversations, it seeped into the periphery, the possibility of the gaps being filled with deity, not through the question of where did we come from, but how can we live knowing our foundations are incomplete? It sneaks in because our bedrock has holes in tradition's goal to fill them grounds its primary conceit. And why not deign to claim the unknowable has a face, a drive, a grand plan, machinations in our favor, love for us doled with benevolent hands? Why choose an unfounded life with fractures webbed under every action, an uncertainty lining our membranes too fatty for true traction? There is no because, there is no but, there is no single solution. I have no words to sway you from ethereal absolution, nor would I want to. How could you? What can I say to you, the non-believer, the overreacher, the one who left me? Where can I hope to stand beyond your presence, but under your influence? How can I ever find a life of my own when you permeate my every second? The captain of our vessels, but you abandoned ship too soon. Women and children first, this child left behind. There is nothing I wouldn't give to dive in your waters one last time, and nothing I have worth giving up for the deserter. Silver linings. The sun sheepishly peaks over snowy hills and verdant valleys encrusted with opalescent dew and emerald foliage. Brooks babble alongside bird calls and insect drones, but little else. As his day begins, solitude settles in. There's no solace in chirping nor in buzzing. The day is long and wisdom in short supply. So much to learn, so little room for wiggling. Now is the time to face consequences, find fallen wood and dead branches, forage for berries and bitter herbs he recalls from a leather-bound book that crinkled and smelled of mildew. Earth digs under once manicured fingernails and into the rivets and swirls of his palm. Twigs catch unkempt hair and bark scratches at soft, unworked skin while the sun turns it to leather. In his makeshift garden marked by haphazard logs and dark, damp soil, green sprouts poke through. His labor of love and sweat and pain is bearing fruit, or maybe vegetables. Time flew by quickly, and in brief twilight, his tired mind trudges back along painful lanes to flight from a soulless world inside a glass case, to where there's not another soul in sight, but so much more. As that light dwindles from the horizon and the gossamer beams evaporate, he looks up to a sky brimming with clouds cast in silver and smiles in darkness. And this bunch, I promise I time this all as 5 minutes. Nimbously adrift.
No problem.
I do not want to live with my head in the clouds if it means I miss out on sunsets and sunrise, the changing of the leaves or the rolling of the tide. I'd miss the mists of autumn and the first laughter of summer, but I do not want to live with feet so leaden that I miss them anyway. And 3 more. Find your fold. The melancholy jollies are a folly of the body, a stupid, putrid, juvenile craving for I'm sorries. Moping such a dopey cope, you'll only rope in suckers, the ones who prune and preem to seem serene but are don't give a fuckers. If you're slipping, tripping, sorrow dipping, jonesing for attention, then nip it quick, the slope is slick, this pit's got great retention. What you want are uplifters, not drifters, grifters, gobs, or ghouls. Good company's rare, or barely there, we're mostly obtuse fools. But when you found your golden fold, hold tight, hold fast, hold true, cling with whitened knuckles, never buckle, bend, just bruise. There are no things worth fighting for, no throne, home, bones, or gem. People are another matter, rather, no more blather, fight for them. Dad humor. This one is written for my dad. Practiced prattle permeates my palate. I paint picturesque pitter and portraited patter with latitudinal platitudes lining the platter. Vapid words vacant of wisdom, voided with veneers whittling down, vividly waxing into vanity's yarns twice wound. Soon someone must stop this unscintillating soliloquy, cease the unsoothing sounds and snatch some sense back. Seemingly solid syntax scattered and slapped into a sack rarely reads right. Really, the return to rationality wrought with rudimentary writing rounds the cliffside road here, ruthlessly redoubling round about the rocks and robbers riding up its rear. Okay, I'll stop. And then the last one is called Sparse. It was not a mournful day when the last leaf fell. There was no one left to mourn. And that is all.
All right, everybody unmute and give it up for Aidan. Nice.
Wow, with the last one. Wow.
That's some great stuff for a guy writing just a short period of time. You're on your way to a lot of fun in life.
Yeah, I'm new, so I don't have like anywhere to share, but I'll leave my email if anyone wants to
Quite all
reach
right.
out or talk or collaborate or something.
You're certainly finding your own voice very quickly. That's really great. Thank you. So our next poet is it Larry or Larry Richardson? Are you here? Did you make it? Hello, going once, Larry, going twice. Okay, I don't see him here. I thought maybe. Okay, so our next poet then is Indigo. Indigo is a 30-something poet, writer, creative, advocate and cat mom from the Philippines. Hi, Indigo. She's performed over 200 events in countries like Japan, Singapore, the UK, and the USA since 2019. Her debut poetry collection, La Cambini Luna, is slated to be released at the end of this year. Welcome. Let me put your poems on there. Take me a moment. Sorry.
Thank you, Mark. You pronounced that wonderfully.
Oh, thank you. Okay, now I have them. Now I got to get back to screen. Share. There you are. Okay.
So this first one is actually coming out in my book, La Cammini Luna, which Mark pronounced very well. This is managing anxiety through the birds. There's a bird song I have been meaning to keep. It comes in the morning outside the windows of my bedroom. I pause, find stillness, wonder if holding my breath and movement will take the waves and waves and waves and commit them to my ocean memory. Sometimes branches snap and fail birds. Once in a blue moon, the bird song gets interrupted by a cry, a failure to stop the falling, or a bird that glitches when he's flying. Bird song can be gentle and quiet when there is a world of room for it to be loud. A song of renewed trust. Lily pads painted silver, uncertain patches, where there is no renewal or recovery without acknowledgement. It's not just what is done, it's also how. There is always hope for new beginnings. It is a love song the birds sing to me in the morning, but no matter the crescendo, the adagio, there's always rest, a safe place to land. And that was my first poem. La Cammini Luna should be out in November, I hope. But I will keep you guys posted.
Yeah, it seems like you only sent me the one poem, unfortunately. Did you send more?
Yeah, it's probably in your email.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'll have to.
No problem.
Excuse, I somehow I didn't copy the others. I'll be right there with you folks. I'm sorry.
No problem. But yeah, I haven't really been able to write much lately because I've been busy and I've been going through it. This is also the first time I'm reviewing my new hair. And it's actually the result of a breakdown. Life advice: don't cut yourself, cut your hair. Why am I?
That's the only one I have here. In that.
It's okay. I can share from here, Mark. I think.
Okay, thank you. I'm sorry. Yeah, it's the only one I got on that on
Cool.
you know what you sent me on the platform. Go ahead, please.
Hang on. Let me find it. You know, when you work in Google Slides every day, forget how to share other things. Give me a moment. Sorry. Also, to be fair to Mark, that's because I sent my poems a little late. Okay, can everybody see that?
Yeah, we got it. Great, thank you.
This is not a warning shot. Rake me over coals, it would probably have hurt less. That's what you left, right? A broken mess? Wrong. Take your memories of my body and the stretching of my nails down your back. Think my words drowning in stevia and not honey. Take the crocodile tears. Think the way I convinced you that your pretend romance was my reality. That's what you thought because you only stayed long enough to watch the white wick turn black. Flames rip into the smooth, seemingly solid block, shift surreptitiously like a long, skinny bullet. You claimed victory when the first tear of burnt wax slid down. All you actually did was give me a head start. I've let you play your game long enough, but now we'll go by my rules. Lock and loop. Thank you. That's something new-ish. Apparently I have a temper. Thanks, Mark. You're on mute, Mark.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, and glad you could find a second poem for us.
Yeah, go
Great
ahead
stuff.
and unmute
Beautiful
everyone
Indigo.
and show Indy some love. Indigo, it's been so long since I've heard you perform. It's so exciting. Thank you.
I've been going through it.
Lovely spaceship.
Thank you. This is the background from Inside Out, that Disney movie about feelings, and I've been in a lot of my feelings lately, so I thought it was appropriate. Thank you, Mark.
Great, looks great.
That's great. Thank you.
Do you have anything that you would like to plug as far as socials?
Well, I'll put it in the chat, but I have Instagram and I have Kofi and all of those things. Also, you might want to follow me on Spotify. Something may or may not be dropping next month. And I'm not in it, but like as you probably heard 10 million times tonight. If you are not supporting our good friends at the Poetry Global Network, not sure what you're doing with your life.
Squigs, are you ready to perform?
Yeah, I can go. Do you have my pieces?
You might be muted, Squigs. Yeah, are you set? Very good.
Can you hear me?
Very low.
How about now?
Yeah, a little bit better. Yeah, sure. Just gotta
just
speak
wanted to
up. All right, so Swigs, I don't actually have a bio for you, but I know you're winning in Winnipeg, Canada, and you're part of the Poetry Global Network, and the team that does the poetry news called Poetry Times. And I've heard Squigs do several performance readings, and I think we're all in for a treat as well. Do you care to share anything else before you begin, or as you wish?
I actually, yeah, no, that's pretty much the bio I wrote up there. Oh, thanks. I didn't know it was my birthday. Yeah, awesome. Do you have my pieces there, Mark?
Oh, did you send it to me?
I did, yeah. Just
Oh,
sent
I'm sorry. No, I didn't know you did, Squigs. I'm sorry. I'll pick that up. In the meantime, what can we move on to either to Sharon? I'll pick it up in a second. Is Sharon Villone here or Villon? If not, Terry Rose, are you? I'll have you read while you're doing so. I'll set up Squigs. Terry Rose, hi. Terry is a wife and mother living in New Jersey, and she writes regularly. She attends open mics. I've seen her quite often, and she works in social services as a peer recovery specialist. She's working on getting published with the red and green books that Marissa has. And Terry, please and put on the Instagram in the chat when you are done. Okay, I think.
Okay.
Okay. I think I have your poetry, correct?
Yes.
Yes, there you are. There we go. Okay, I'll be half a second. Got it. Okay, back to Zoom. Share word. Okay.
So the first poem is called What I Want. Can you guys see it?
Yes.
Okay. What I want. I want someone to hold my gaze, to give me praise, to rub my back, to clean my house, to do my laundry, to mow the grass, to take out the trash, to vacuum the rugs, to give me empathetic hugs, to make me dinner, to tell me I look thinner, to run me a bubble bath, to kiss me fully on the lips, to gently caress my hips, to satisfy me utterly and completely. And then I will die smiling sweetly. The next one is a haiku. It's for Marissa's erotic poetry book. It's a collab. She was requesting submissions. So this is, all of these I'm about to read are for that book. This one's called Touching Haiku. You know what to do. Touch me, baby. Go slowly, and I will pleasure you. And the last one is called Escapade in the Rain. Cold, wet, rubbery seat of swing on deserted playground. Not flexible enough to encompass me. Two writhing, awkward lovers trying new sexual positions unsuccessfully. Chain of swing cutting into my fleshy thighs as I wrap them around him, aiming for the drenched target. Having so much fun in the downpour. I did not want to complain about the pain. It was so romantic, yet tragic. Our escapade in the rain. And poem.
Go ahead and unmute and give Terry Rose some love.
Terry
Yes.
Rose!
He
Woohoo!
brought in the love for us.
Wow,
Yes.
wow,
Woo!
wow.
Great.
That was
Great.
brilliant as always.
Thank you.
Mark, go ahead and unmute, please.
Sorry, I'm just trying to pull up Squig's poem. Thank you for sharing that aspect of your persona, Terry Rose, which I didn't know much about. Indeed. Okay, I have you, Ron. I have you, Ronald, now. So, Ronell is Terry. Please put anything you need to put in the chat for us to follow you, and then I'll follow up with our last poet, which will be Squigs. Okay.
Yes, I will. Thank you.
Okay. Squiggs is a first-generation Filipino born and raised in Winnipeg, Canada, Manitoba, Canada. He's a coordinator and regular host for the Caravan Open Mic. He's a herald of the Poetry News for the Poetry Global Network. And welcome here. And I'll start with Tempest. I'll have to put one up on a time because I haven't had a chance to collect them. So I'll do that as well. So here's the first poem.
Hey everyone, can you hear me better now?
Yes,
Good?
Quigs.
Okay, cool, thank you. All right, so for my first piece, I'll do Tempus Fragent. It's Latin for time breaks. It's about my father leaving. Tempus Fragent. Beneath the skin, behind the canvas, a fragile greeting found, a fragile tempest. Promised an unarmed, unwrapped infinity and sharing air, and a felbit for sharpness, anorexic for fitting, amnesia breaking, mining space, and an unnerving echo in prayers. Please, and now, and why? There is a smile buried in the curtains, that is why my violence forgives. The lacuna is free, linen running and unabated. Heavy comedy and rubber tires sail away. A stained glass ration sunrise, a signature war waiting under tickets, an armistice of fingertips, gone again, left picking clouds. Neon spins everywhere, beneath the roots, above the rooftops, dancing concrete with me, electronics offbeat, eating the world, shaking. Somewhere still to call us home, evacuating pain behind familiar windows. I whisper you a fire escape, a static ocean at your door. And the next piece is called Olivia.
I'll have to go get it. Hold on a second, please.
And I'll take this moment to say thank you everyone for the poetry shared today. Is quite a morning. I just got up. The other Ron's not here, but usually reminds everyone to smile. So I'd like to invite everyone to smile as well. Through the sad pieces, I suppose.
Squigs, that piece about your dad is like the first time I've heard it. My God.
Thank you. All right, so this next piece is Olivia. I guess this one's about youthful romance and such, or attempts at succeeding unrequitedly. Okay, so Olivia. Live. The street lamps are sisters in every city. They all sing the same amber glow. And if you're not paying attention, you could confuse a gutter for almost anywhere. Tomorrow is as far away from me now as you, far away from me today as you yesterday. I'm as far away from you now as our first hello. Forever never lasts as long as it takes for you to forget the way you kissed me like a ransom note, the way I may have to spend the rest of my life paying for it. I see you now through old photographs, just before you forgot how to fake that yearbook smile, On rooftops, wearing only a blanket, a nipple escapes into morning light, overexposed, baby. And I still haven't found what I'm looking for. I'm still trying to figure out if you had always been a garden growing wild around a misused house, or the impact that broke these streets, rearranged all the signs. There's a place I'd call home if you thought so too. Live. That black eye you've worn one time too often to be fashionable. I miss you more than I miss the skinned knees, the Cracker Jack jewelry in your chameleon hair. Is this what happens to children, baby, who care no longer to find their way home? Planting cigarette butts between the concrete and the graffiti, we traded the low-income housing and playgrounds for the warehouse art gallery after parties with the loudest musics and the flashing lights that are going on still, feeding our fast so fast, just as fast. Live. I can't remember now what I've tried so hard to forget, but outside our bed, I promised to practice all the regrets you never kept. Though the midnight bike rides and heavy mascara tell me I left you still running away. Live. Your life, confusing the damsel for the distress, but you lied, and I fought my way to the center of your hell to find it was you behind the curtain there. Now I may never escape. Alive. When the gutters steam and filthy sex bring me back, will you remember me as I remember you? Your cheap perfume, every time traffic lights blink at me from empty rooms to empty streets, from empty streets into empty rooms. You dirty angel I got to touch, a butterfly who always drank too much. Live. Will all the clocks we broke and the photographs left overexposed serve as the only evidence that we were guilty once of a happiness we accused each other negligent of? Is it criminal to remember you that way? Just know whoever we were then, we'll make it home just the same. See, I let you borrow my jacket knowing you'd lose it anyway. Your short skirt and faux fur will always make you look like an actress out of time, but will the silver screen of our lives find us kissing at sunrise? Live. What are we fighting for anymore? Cigarettes stain our vocal cords, the wallpaper's peeling in our room, and the morning traffic is singing a sober soundtrack. I don't want this anymore, baby. I can't live here anymore. Thank you.
Morning traffic sings a sober soundtrack.
What is that line, Squigs? You say, I promise to practice all the regrets you forget. What? It went too fast. And
Sorry.
It's really small for me to see because I have it minimized. So.
Yeah, that stanza was, I believe, the third live.
Yeah.
I can't remember now what I've tried so hard to forget, but outside our bed, I promise to practice all the regrets you never kept.
I love that. I love that.
Thank you, everyone.
That's very good.
Amazing, Squigs. Wow.
To everyone
What
else.
what an event, guys.
So there you have
What an
it.
event. Wow.
Well, wow, indeed. Well, the next September 28th is on a Tuesday. I haven't decided the time yet. We'll probably be maybe in the afternoon to try to catch a different variety of time zones out there. And for those of you that didn't read this time, please get in touch with me. I'll try to get you in for next time, of course. Be my pleasure. And thank you for joining us, all participants and readers. And what can I say that you haven't all we all haven't all experienced together? Highs and lows, ups and downs. Every corner of the universe. This is a wonderful event. I'm so pleased to be able to do this, and thank you all for having the patience and hanging in there while we all had a chance to read. This is great. What else can I say?
Great. Thanks, Mark.
Thank you all.
Mark, can you stop the recording for a moment and then let the room just breathe a little bit before they leave?